A dedicated team of volunteers, local communities and organizations have joined forces to revive the Oloke-Meji Forest Reserve. Through extensive reforestation efforts, they are replanting native tree species, revitalizing the soil and creating a sustainable future for the forest. This and more will be our focus in this week's edition of Green Angle. Welcome. I am Esther Mapariola.
Forests, the lifeblood of our planet. They are not only a source of awe-inspiring beauty, but also crucial for preserving Earth's biological diversity, enhancing ecosystem stability, and mitigating environmental degradation and climate change. However, these vital ecosystems are under threat. In our quest for urbanization, increased food production, and the ever-rising human population, forests are being degraded at an alarming rate. We take you to Oloke-Meji Forest Reserve, nestled between the bustling megacities of Abeokuta and Ibadan in southwest Nigeria. Once a thriving forest, it has fallen victim to unsustainable human practices. The Oloke-Meji Forest Reserve, managed and owned by the Ogun State government, was primarily established for timber concession and the harvesting of non-timber forest products. But the local communities, seeking daily sustenance and income, have exploited its resources unsustainably. 2 years ago, a glimmer of hope emerged. A brewing firm awarded the restoration of a section of Oloke-Meji Forest Reserve to the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture Forest Center in partnership with the Ogun State government. Their mission: to reverse the degradation and bring the forest back to life. This ambitious project aims to involve and empower the local community.
Deep within the heart of this enchanting sanctuary, there is a beacon of hope guiding us towards a sustainable future. Deforestation has affected our planet, damaging ecosystems, displacing countless species, and worsening climate change. But in the face of adversity, Oloke-Meji's forest stands tall, leading a remarkable journey of transformation against all odds.
Adewale Awoyemi, a project manager of the initiative, explains how they are fostering community participation and the sense of ownership.
It's just to get them to know that natural resources are exhaustible, because if you don't use sustainably, you finish using and you don't have anything left for the next generation. Once they are aware of the benefit of actually restoring the forest or even protecting or conserving the forest, then you tend to win their interest. It's more difficult because the host communities are more or less like agrarian societies where they practice annual cropping, which is very, very difficult, which is not so good for biodiversity conservation, because you farm here this year, then you need fertile land next year, which is a little bit challenging. So trying to change the mentality of people from that perspective is a little bit challenging. We have done it in such a way that we try to distribute opportunities. We have the community chiefs, you have the market women group, you have the youth group, you also have the hunters, you have the farmers. You have to take all this care into consideration. We also organize some sensitization workshops for these people. One which we did and was very successful was training about fire prevention. It's beneficial to everybody because people set fire. It not only affects the forest crops but also their food crops. And as you know, IITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, is renowned for agricultural research in Africa. And then in doing that, one uniqueness about our institute is the development of good varieties of, of crops. So in the olden days, what you would need maybe 5 hectares of land to get as farm produce. With our improved varieties, with just by cultivating 1 hectare, you could get that. That's one aspect, and we are introducing that into the vegetable production. So with a small area of land, you could get a bountiful harvest.
The project has employed 18 community members to coordinate reforestation activities and take part in training programs aimed at alleviating poverty in rural areas. They are also raising seedlings in the project nursery with over 78,000 seedlings of 64 different native tree species planted since the project's inception in March 2021.
We are selecting native trees of economic value to the people. One of the trees we'll be planting is Parkia biglobosa, the locust bean. So maybe in the next 10 years, they start fruiting. People in the community can go into the production of locust bean. And you know it's very expensive in the market. So we are planting that. So it means women in the community now have something to go back to. So if you are making money from a tree of locust bean, then nobody can come and cut it. The community will also protect it with their lives. And we are planting the oil bean. Igbo call it uba. We are also planting it. And you know, for you to buy a little quantity of oil bean in the market is very, very expensive. And because people believe those things were planted by the gods in the eastern parts. So if you want to plant, oh, no, it's planted by the gods. So they depend solely on what they have in the wild. But right now we are bringing it to the people, we are actually planting it. So we are now gods. So we are planting it for them, and in the next 10 years, they will be making money from it. You realize that there are some vegetables which are peculiar to the people in the southwest, like worowo, bagba. These are very expensive vegetables, but then we are teaching them out. It's not because it's because you have limited supply, and that's why it's expensive. Now, if you are giving them this training, then that will be a source of livelihood to them. Then there's no need. If you have your vegetable garden, there's no need for you to go to the forest and cut down trees. You know, sometimes we ask people, don't cut down trees. Are you giving them something in return? So that is what we are actually doing.
But the project goes beyond just planting trees. It aims to educate the local communities about the importance of forest conservation and sustainable practices.
Poverty is a key factor, because people say, okay, natural resources or forest trees are God-given and inexhaustible, so Wale or nobody should control their rate of exploitation. You know, this kind of belief and perception needs to change. So, and part of our main activities there is actually changing the perception of people that you could actually benefit a lot from forests without actually cutting down the trees. And in addition to the vegetable production, we will incorporate it in some sort of agroforestry system in such a way that even if you are planting your food crops, you are planting forest trees that will be beneficial to biodiversity, that will generate income and improve rural livelihood. So we need to do that. You know, there are lots of reforestation projects ongoing in the country. Like I used to say, it's one thing to plant trees, it's quite another thing for you to maintain it. Anybody can plant trees, you know, but you need expertise, you need to follow up, you need to maintain the planted trees.
You first of all dig your what? Your hole to 2 centimeters deep.
Even school children are actively involved through school conservation clubs established in the area.
If I build my own house, I would like to plant some trees, for example, like mango trees, cashew trees, to protect my house from the winds.
Sometimes as parents, if you want to talk to another adult person, the way to get to them is their children. You know, we have what we call school conservation clubs. Some of the students here in this community, what we've done is that we took them out of this community to RITA, a lovely campus, to come there and see the beautiful environment. You know, they were very excited, and we told them, see, you can make your environment as beautiful as this. They are the ones that will go back home, talk to their parents about it. And you know, once we go out, and oh, good morning, sir. The parents will come and meet us. This is what their children told them. Oh, yes, it is right. We explain further. So we are using the kids, the children, the school children as a tool for change in this community. And that is one of the ways we are also doing. Then as regards the beekeeping, when you have a bee, beekeeping is like a non-timber forest product. But you can't keep bees without having your forest. And when you have bees, it helps to increase your farm yield because they are actually pollinating agents. In some countries in the world, like I think in Africa and Egypt, as a beekeeper, a farmer will come to me, pay me, I'll take my bee hive to your farm just to help you pollinate. And once that is done, I just take my hive back to my farm and I will get money from you.
The Oloke-Meji Forest Reserve and its reforestation project stand as a testament to the power of collective action and the resilience of nature. This resurgence will support the presence of diverse flora and fauna, creating a harmonious ecosystem that benefits the Oloke-Meji community and the entire landmass. As we stand at the crossroads of human development and environmental conservation, let the story of Oloke-Meji inspire us to cherish and protect our forests. For in their preservation lies the key to a healthier planet, a thriving ecosystem, and a brighter future for generations to come.
Green Angle returns in just a moment. Stay with us. Finance leaders, companies and philanthropists have pledged more than $2 billion to support carbon emissions reduction and climate resilience efforts in Africa, Asia and Latin America. This commitment was made during a climate finance mobilization forum at Windsor Castle, England. The forum stressed the need for collaboration among governments, philanthropies and investors as the scale of the climate crisis requires joint efforts to mobilize the needed funding. But how will this change anything? Climate activists Ronke Ige and Olumide Martins share their perspective on this.
There's a case around criminal activities that are historical, lands that have been degraded, lives that have been lost, and all of those other losses. Now the question is that, is loss and damage finance also the answer to the age-long ecological damage? The answer is no. And that's why some of us, we advocate for climate reparations, you know, beyond loss and damage financing. But the question also is about commitment, going beyond words of mouth, going beyond even contributing those funds, down to implementing those funds.
Yes, we can rely on grants coming from foreign bodies, but then we can also do better by having dedicated funds drawn from statutory budgetary allocations from African countries. I know of Nigeria, for instance, in our National Climate Change Act, there's a particular deliverable that talks about government having dedicated, you know, budget for funding climate action. So that could be replicated across the African countries. So
the language of climate is still really bogus and too technical, such that even as experts, when we talk about it, we are speaking over people's heads, so they don't get it. So some of the urgent things I think we need to start doing would be to reach more, if you have not been doing it before, into frontline communities, to talk to them, train them on what they can do in the meantime to adapt, you know, to build resilience. And what do I mean? You know, when we are talking about adaptation, we have individual contributions, we have neighborhood contributions, we have local contributions, then we have national, multinational. You know, it's multi-level. But people need to know what they can do in their own spaces. You know, we have been teaching things. In recent times, we are talking about rotational cropping, for instance, sewage system, drainage, not cutting down trees. You know, all of these very simple things that our people used to live with, but also climate change is making them do the opposite of everything they used to know. So it's high time we began to move into those spaces to teach people.
We advocate very strongly that, support to African region should be in form of grants, accessible grants, and accessible in the form of accessible, because when you look at the conditions to attaching this grant, you see them heavily manifest in our national endowment contributions. You know, our advances to net zero, our position to emission trading scheme and the likes. These are still foreign suggestions that shouldn't, find its place in our policies. But because of the capitalism agenda of those we are trying to deal with, we still have their handwritings everywhere. There are conversations around adaptation and then mitigation, and naturally these are the issues that climate finance ought to address. So I expect the African continent, the African region, to do more when it comes to mitigating the crisis of climate change. So efforts should be geared towards ameliorating the concerns of those who are affected by climate crisis, particularly those in the frontline communities, those whose ancestral homes now are gone because of heavy presence of corporations that are triggering emission, causing climate change that we experience today. So effort should be made towards giving them succor, giving them support, and also into agricultural, support as well.
But I think what should be first is mobilizing the people who are impacted, educating them, talking about homegrown solutions, because what I have found in the course of this work is sometimes the solutions we need or the answers we need actually reside within us. When you go to communities, the community is usually a reservoir of historical knowledge, experiential knowledge. In terms of even while finding solutions, you ask the people, what have you suffered? How do you think we can move on? So when we talk about innovations, we often exclude the people, thinking that innovation is an exclusive of the elite or the technical guys, but it's not always so. So what I would really love to see government do more, even the private sector, is to go back to communities to say, how can we innovate? When we talk about building resilience, when we talk about mitigation, adaptation, what does it mean to you? How can we begin to build or at least work around organic solutions that are also tailored to specific community needs?
Human activities have been identified as the primary cause of climate change, resulting in various problems such as increased flooding and, in severe cases, drought. In Nigeria, numerous communities located in low-lying areas frequently face the challenge of devastating floods that destroy homes and displace hundreds of people. Our next report examines the impact of this climate change phenomenon on a section of a Lagos community and explores how the affected individuals are adapting to this new reality. In recent weeks, major cities across the country have been experiencing flash floods due to heavy rainfall. The National Emergency Agency has issued an alert warning residents in states susceptible to this disaster and urging those living in low-lying areas to relocate to higher ground. Here in Lagos, several low-lying areas within the metropolis regularly battle with floodwaters whenever the rain starts, leading to the submersion of numerous communities. Whenever it rains, it pours, and for residents in this locality, the flood situation here has become a usual occurrence due to shallow drainage system and poor infrastructure. While some have devised means to adapt to the situation, others call on the authorities to come to their aid. With tools in hand, Bright creates his own drainage channel to support the construction of his shop, where he plans to sell his goods.
Like me and my sister, we are selling clothes here, sandals, boxer, singlet and t-shirts. So because of the water over there, at times maybe if rain is falling, we cannot be able to come and open our shop. And anytime that rain fall, we cannot be able to come to shop. Like we spend like 3 days before we can be able to come and do our shop. So we now gather some money to collect some portion of land over here. So and still the water is still disturbing the place that we just collect new. So I'm trying to construct here. Then we pour a concrete. Then the water will not be disturbing our shop anymore.
This water is so. Many people so if you don't can say if you car say sometimes car say they sink for that place. Maybe say they no go fit start. If me I don't experience, maybe say my car sink for that place. Maybe say na push. Maybe say go push. Come on. If more than way, most of people, more than people, understand. But what thing is say I don't know when I got and when I road to, but make if not government anybody will be say if he help us help people around here. But then if you do something around this place.
So this kind of water is giving us a headache, especially when we are working. 2 days, yesterday, today, yesterday, we never work. And I'm paying the workers for not working. So if there's anything that government will do for this road, then should do it.
Many traders in this area have devised their own strategies to continue their businesses, despite the challenging circumstances which have also negatively impacted their daily sales. For them, it is a constant struggle.
If it rain for like 2 days, 3 days, it can come up inside the shop. And the water they remain like 4 days, 5 days, 1 week, more than 1 week. So permanently here no they dry. The water no they finish inside here. And car cannot park to buy market. Now only leg, if you manage to use their leg enter. Because if a car park, another car can pour water inside the engine.
Tí òjò bá rọ̀, a ní challenges omi tó pọ̀ gan. Bẹ̀tà wa gangan tá nílùú, a dúró, a máa ń kó kọ́tà, a máa ń kó kànáà wa ní gbogbo ìgbà bẹ̀tì ìrànlọ́wọ́ tá ní ìdí nísìn kànáà yẹn ó ti pọ̀ ju tiwa lọ láti lè afford láti kó fún owó ní nọ́mbẹ̀. À ń bẹ ìjọba Lagos State Babájídé Sanwó-Olú kí Ọlọ́run Elédùmarè tó ti ń fún ṣe bọ̀ kó túnbọ̀ máa fún ṣe lọ. Kàn á help wa lọ́rọ̀ gbogbo kànáà méjèèjì tá ní bí. We have only 2 canal. One is in our boundary between Osapa and Ajiran. One is our boundary between Jakonde, Shoprite, Gbara, Mayegun, Igbo Efon, nǹkankan. Àjọ ní boundary canal yẹn, but canal kan náà ni gbogbo wa jọ ń lò. So canal yẹn ti dí. And a fẹ́ kí ìjọba Lagos State kàn gbé commissioner dìde. Kàn wá wo gbogbo canal yẹn báwọn èèyàn ṣe kọ́lé káàkiri. Bóyá òun ló ń fà tómi yẹn fi ń lọ tí ò fi lọ jáde sí ọ̀sà tóró mi ò lọ rárá.
However, the government states it is actively working towards addressing some of these concerns, but it emphasizes that it requires collective efforts from all stakeholders.
In a nutshell, we've mapped out our channels, we're lining our channels, and we're maintaining them. But we're not now stopping at that. In my last, I said that our channels have got the capacity to carry what is coming in. What we have designed is what is intentionally acceptable. You design for things that will take maybe like 30%, 40% runoff. But what we generate in Lagos is like nearly 100% runoff. Because the water cycle requires, I'll keep saying this, we need to educate ourselves that everybody needs to solve this flooding challenge. Everybody in your house. God has created a natural drainage system called the water cycle. When rain falls, half of that, 50% is supposed to go into the ground. The ground is supposed to be the biggest drainage infrastructure. It's a sponge. It's supposed to soak up. The foliage is supposed to be another storage element to hold up another 40%. So runoff should be like 10%. But because we have all cut off the trees, we've taken away 40% of storage, we've sealed the ground, taking away another 50% of infiltration. What we have is that we're now throwing out 100% of runoff into the public space. No channel can have that capacity. So we are now taking it a step further. We are introducing what we call sustainable urban drainage systems. Not just providing the infrastructure, it has to be a process, a system that has to be there all the time. So what we're doing is we are trying to create that natural dynamics artificially. Old houses that have been constructed and have sealed their compound, please create a place in your compound where you can dig a hole for water to go into the ground. If all of us in the state can take the water out of the public space, we'll solve the flooding problem. But it is the convergence of runoff from my house, your house, all the houses onto the street that goes to the most downstream that causes the flooding.
While the government acknowledges the need for action, it is crucial for all stakeholders to unite and prioritize robust infrastructure and sustainable practices. By working collectively, we can mitigate the effects of climate change and build a more resilient future for all communities affected by these environmental challenges. And that's about it on this week's edition of Green Angle. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Makwarela.